I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It was good to be out of the rain. 'Cause in the desert, you can't remember your name. You even know that song from two things, Breaking Bad or GTA San Andreas. And today, we're going to talk about Breaking Bad. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear, right? If you've made it to 20 odd seconds in, you've probably loved my singing, alright? But I love Breaking Bad. My favourite, my favourite second show of all time. Honestly, I'm just making this because I feel like, you know what? Even through greatness, you can be objective and you can call stuff out. And we did Sopranos. For me, Breaking Bad's much better than Sopranos, right? But here's 10 reasons why Breaking Bad is overrated, alright? And I struggled coming together with this list because I love the show, and I feel like compared to Sopranos, I don't think there's a lot of flaws. But let's get into them. And here, you know what? See, before you go all judgmental on me and be like, oh, the show's great, the show's this, right? Listen to the reasons and see if you can come up with an argument against the reasons, right? Put your big boy pants on and fucking mon on down then. Right, so reason number one, Skylar. Right, there's the memes. Oh, there's a literal Nazi. There's a meth head. There's a dealer. There's a fucking child, whatever. You know, and it's like, how can Skylar be the most hated character in the show? I just think she's a nagging bitch, honestly. And you could say she's portrayed in that way to make you more sympathetic for like Walter and Walter Jr. But no, I look across TV shows, right, and I can't think a worse spouse to the main character. I think she's got similar traits to Carmela Soprano. Jesus fucking Christ. It's very late when I meet Carmela Soprano, alright? Part of me likes Carmela because she actually, like, I don't know, she knows the world she lives in, she's accepted it, and she does do a few things that make me quite. Just from the first episode to the end, there's just something about Skylar White. It almost makes me want to turn off my TV every time she's on screen. And that, to me, that's why I put her at one. I think the worst thing about Breaking Bad is Skylar White, without a shadow of a doubt. Reason number two, the first season is slow. The first season is slow, alright? We can beat around the bush and pretend that Breaking Bad is an instant classic from start to end. Now here, I still think the first season's great, but there are like the first 40 minutes of the pilot are a stretch, man. Like the intro's very good, but then after that it's kinda like Walt going about his life in here. Maybe a boring guy living the middle America dream. Even though I know they're in Albuquerque. Not quite. Is it middle America? Let me know, Yanks. Is it? Let me. It's not really, but it's not really cool. It's not a coast either. It's just living generic, boring, 9 to 5 American dream. In the first season, and I love Tuco, and there's a lot of good stuff between Walt and Jesse, but there's a lot of boring stuff, and you know, you compare it to a lot of other shows' first seasons, and I think it's comparable to The Walking Dead's first season, where it's 6 episodes and it is a bit slow, but The Walking Dead's first season is probably considered one of its best seasons. With the Breaking Bad, honestly, I think season one is the worst season, and I think Breaking Bad tends to get better. Reason number three, the cousin crawl. You might not be on what I'm on about the twins, the Salamanca twins. The random crawling they did through like villages. What was that gimmick all about? What was that? Can someone actually explain that? To me, that just made no sense. It was goofy, and it kind of took you out the moment that these guys are crawling through forests. And again, like I said in the Sopranos vid, which make sure you check out, folks, it's like the Sopranos was almost too real, where it made things boring for the sake of authenticity. Well, Breaking Bad kind of makes things turned up to the max with your TV show gimmicks. So, is what it is. Reason number four, Hank's rock obsession. Right, Hank obviously gets into the shootout with the cousins. Spoiler alert, he kills both of them. Well done, Hank. But then he's kind of like recuperating. He begins to like rocks and things like that. And it's like, what are we doing here? Honestly, like I mean, it was kind of funny, but it was kind of fucking boring as well. He would just order rock. They're minerals. They're not rocks. And all that shite. Ah, Hank, it felt like rock bottom, son. Um, reason number five. There is a few filler episodes. You know what I mean? I mean, everyone points to the Fly episode, so you know what? I may as well go to it like a fly to shite. Did you like that one? I like that one. So that's what I'm going to do. Um, it, the Fly episode was very boring, and they ran out of budget, which for me isn't a valid excuse. I'm not having that as an excuse. Oh, we ran out of budget. You know what I mean? It's a big show making a lot of money, paying actors a lot of money, man. It's like, uh, the Fly episode was in season, I think it was season three, wasn't it? Could have been four, but yeah. And like I said, the first season has a few slow ones, and yeah, honestly, I think I've watched Breaking Bad three times. I haven't watched in a good couple of years though. Memory is a bit phasey of it, but I would probably say apart from season five, every season does have a few filler episodes. But again, I think most TV shows have filler episodes. But I think the Breaking Bad, even with its filler episodes, it still had stuff that was story orientated. Apart from the Fly episode, where nothing really advanced. Reason number six: characters killed off too early. Right, I think a great example of this is Tuco Salamanca. A great character here. It was great seeing him in Better Call Saul and all that good stuff. But I just can't help but look at Tuco Salamanca and think, fuck, this guy was killed off too early. I really, really think he was. And again, what I will say is, in the defence of them killing him, I mean, what way do you write it? You know what I mean? Because the writing for Breaking Bad, with that whole stuff going down with Tuco, Jesse, Walt, and Hank. Hank finds the car and Tuco's body and gets the shit out with him. It's almost perfect. But I also look at like Crazy 8 and think, fuck, he didn't last too long. He was killed a wee bit too early. No, I think most people in the show were killed about right. I mean, you could look at Gus Fring, but I think Gus Fring dying and that empire coming to an end really set up season five. So I've no real beef with Gus Fring, but I do look at Cruzy 8, I do look at Tuco. Hell, I think there's even a case for Combo. I'm not going to say Combo was the greatest character of all time because he really wasn't. I honestly think I do think the twins as well. Went out a wee bit prematurely as well. So there's a few examples, but like I said, I'm trying to force myself to come up with reasons here, but I do think a decent amount of main characters were killed off a bit too early in this show. Reason number seven, it is very cartoony. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a real show, but it does feel like it's made for the purpose of like entertainment. And again, I don't think there's a problem with that to a point. It's like these are TV shows, they are meant to entertain us. You know, this is simply a show about a guy that gets cancer and wants to pay for it by selling meth. Like, I mean, loads of people sell drugs in the world. I'm not fucking naive, but there's nothing that's really based on. You look at like The Sopranos and The Wire, two HBO shows. They're very real. Like they're very like off. Like I said, the authenticity's off the charts. But like New Jersey, Baltimore, you get the feeling of the city, especially in The Wire. Like it is so fucking. It's like programmed India. It's like here, this is how this city operates. And in The Sopranos, you do really like feel New York and Jersey. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain it into words, but I do feel like Breaking Bad, Sons, like The Walking Dead, they were made for the sake of a TV show. But I feel like The Sopranos was made to show like a TV show version of a mob. A mob show. Yeah, and yeah, it's hard to explain, but it does feel cartoony, you know what I mean? And I think there's a fine line in the middle, and like I said, the crawling stuff with the cousins, just very, and there's so many like other scenes in the show that are, very cartoony, like timing wise and things like that. And again, that happens in the real world, but you know what I mean. Reason number 8, Jesse's obsession with kids. Now, before this gets taken out of context, He's not a pedophile. But, the kid with the ATM, right, in like season two, that kid, he takes a liking to him. But I think the worst of all is Brock. You know what I mean? Yeah, Walt poisoned him, right? But how fucking bad did Jesse take that? You know what I mean? Honestly, fucking basically jobbing out the entire operation, jobbing out Walt over that. When, as Walt says, here, I only gave him enough to make him sick, not to kill him. And I believe Walt by that. I know Walt's like far gone at points, but Jesse just had like a weird obsession with kids. He did, and here, maybe we'll get a sequel later down the line, and yeah, maybe he'll have his own kids. But it's throughout the show, he just he loved kids. You know what I mean? And it's weird though, because he had a younger brother, and he did help him out, and he vouched for him, and he pretended that he done stuff to get his little brother off the hook. But you would almost like to have seen Jesse be a big brother to his little brother rather to random fucking kids. Reason number 9: Walt literally could have took Elliot's money. No word of a lie. And to fill you in a bit of context here, American healthcare, it's not cheap. And Walt obviously gets diagnosed with this. Elliot and Gretchen offer to pay for it. And Walt's pride and his ego say no. And then he decides to sell meth and drugs. Again, so avoidable. I mean, I get it. It made for a decent storyline for like when Skylar found out and he lied. Like, it was a good alibi for like how it's getting paid for. But I mean, I get it. You don't want to have to rely off other people. But what you've got to bear in mind is, right, Walt did help set up that company, Grey Matter. It's not like it was like a complete handout at the end of the day, but his ego got the best of him. That's reason number 9. And our final reason: Uncle Jack's crew aren't final season villains for me. So I think I thought they were a bit weak. I'm not saying they're awful, right? But they took up a lot of season 5. I mean, you can fire in the fact they were like tag team with Lydia kind of thing, even though it was more we call him Todd. But these guys essentially enslave Jesse. They kill Hank and Gomi. Hank, one of the biggest characters in the show, one of my favourite characters of all time across TV, right? Land. Gomi's also, right, in there. It's like, that was, see that scene in the desert, right, with Hank and Gomi and Uncle Jack's gang? I love that scene, right? And honestly, that's as near perfect of an action scene you're going to get in a TV show. But if you're watching this, I think you'll know deep down that Uncle Jack's crew, they don't. He doesn't. I mean, they're neo Nazis, right? They're not going to be the fucking the sharpest tool in the box. They are often portrayed that way on television. Dumb as fuck kind of thing. Clearance, all that shite. But they didn't have that big time feel to them. You know what I mean? You look at other TV shows, right? And like villains, like you look at The Sopranos, right? Phil Leotardo of New York, that feels like a villain to me, like a big ass villain, right? Really does. You look at, I mean, I get it. That is the final season, and I guess other shows, Sons. I mean, Sons has a lot of antagonists, but going into the final season, like Gemma is really the antagonist because that's what it ends with. Jack's ending her after the whole stuff with Tara. Yeah, you can look at the Chinese and August Marks, but they become antagonists simply because of Gemma. Prison Break, they're against the company. The Wire. I mean, there is no. Honestly, I think with The Wire, there is no like real antagonist. Like I said earlier, it's like a city show. I just think Uncle Jack and his crew, folks, they are a bit weak. You know what I mean? Like, they're not exactly. As much as The Walking Dead dropped off, they're not Negan. I mean, Negan is a big name. The Governor, even. I think they were a bit weak for like a final season, boss. But again, I guess in Breaking Bad, the dynamic that I liked the most was Walt against Hank. Those episodes where Hank knew. But obviously, it's not just the scene where they kill Hank and Gomi. I mean, the ending scene of Breaking Bad is pretty much Walt wiping them out and saving Jesse, and I get it.
it's that moment's more about Walt's death and Jesse managing to escape, but who's he kill for that to happen? All those guys. Anyway, leave your thoughts down below. That's 10 reasons why Breaking Bad is overrated.